Hi everybody, this is Father Warner D'Souza. Today's text is taken from Luke chapter 15 verses 1 to 10. It is the nature of God to seek the lost. In the other religions of the world, man is seeking and searching for God. But in the Christian faith, it is the God of the universe who comes seeking and searching for you. It is for this reason that Luke chapter 15 has been called the Gospel in the Gospel, as if it contained the very distilled essence of the good news which Jesus came to share. There was a double standard applied to Jesus. He could dine with the upper crust of society without any reprisal. But any time he dined in the home of a commoner, he was criticized, even reprimanded, because he ate with publicans and sinners as if he had committed a criminal offense. This is the context of Luke chapter 15 and the context of the three parables, two of which are unique to Luke, the lost coin and the lost son. In each of these stories, the plot line is that something is lost. A sheep is lost, a coin is lost, a son has wandered away from home. It reveals the heart of God who searches out for the lost. The parables are directed towards the scribes and Pharisees. We read this in chapter 15 verses 1 to 2, because they do not like the fact that Jesus welcomes everyone unconditionally. They did not like the people with whom he was hanging around. So Jesus reveals something very vital. We are valued by God to be of great worth because we are his. In every story, what is lost is of great worth to the one to whom it belongs. They are lost, not merely left somewhere and become separated from its rightful source. What's interesting is that each could arguably be seen as still having limited value. For example, anyone owning 100 sheep in Jesus' day would be very well off, considering that most Palestinian farmers might own just 10 or even fewer sheep. Yet, there are some things that are loved because they are valuable, and some things that are valuable because they are loved. For Jesus, no one is just part of the crowd. The parable of the sheep also appears in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 18, verses 10 to 14. It's interesting to note that sheep fit in a very unique category among animals. Many animals may be able to find their way back home, but sheep are not one of them. Even more, they have no natural defenses. Almost all animals have either claws or sharp teeth, or quills, a hard shell, or speed to escape predators, but not a lamb. They have absolutely no defenses. The wilderness of Judea was and is hilly and has many places sheep could navigate but humans can't, which could make the sheep difficult to find. The myriad predators would have rendered the sheep vulnerable. The shepherd looks for the sheep with ostensibly little hope of finding it or finding it alive. Against all odds, to the contrary, the shepherd discovers the sheep and he restores it to the flock. Then there is a lost drachma. A drachma is either a half day or a whole day's wage. There is considerable debate regarding the relative significance of the drachma to the woman. While some have suggested that the 10 drachma represent the woman's life savings, others suggest that the woman is wealthy because she appears to own her own home. Others have suggested that this coin could have been part of a headdress made of 10 silver coins linked together by a silver chain. Such a headdress was highly significant, a piece of wedding jewelry that was so significant it could not be taken from her even to pay a debt. Imagine losing the diamond from your engagement ring. In both parables, what is lost is deemed valuable, and those who searched were single-minded, and the search is diligent and it is tireless. Upon recovering the sheep and the coin respectively, the shepherd and the woman called their neighbors and friends to rejoice with them. In their joy and in their celebrations, one wonders whether they spent more than they gained in the recovery in the lost sheep or the coin. However, the measure of rejoicing clearly suggests to us that the recovered object was irretrievably lost and its recovery was unlikely, if not impossible. The parables of the lost sheep and the lost coin illustrate the constant, faithful, unrelenting love of God for each one of us, but especially for sinners. God never gives up on anyone. Yet the religious leaders, the very people we would have thought would be ecstatic about Jesus and his message, pushed him away. The people we might have thought would have no interest in Jesus, and these are the very ones who sit before him with eager hearts and open minds. It is a sad truth that some of the hardest people to reach with the gospel are those who have been deeply involved in their church. Those people sometimes think they have things all figured out and become unteachable. People from outside the church are often more willing to hear what God has to say. Luke invites us to the table with the tax collectors and the sinners, inviting us to find God's image in all that seems lost, for nothing will be impossible to God, as we read in Luke chapter 1 verse 37 and again in Luke chapter 18 verse 27. So what's our takeaway from today's pericope? Pigeonholing people, in this case the tax collectors and the sinners, perhaps permits us to wash our hands and leave. We may have an attitude of the Pharisees and look at some of these people and think of them as throwaways in societies. We often associate the idea of sin with breaking rules, but at its root, it is not simply about rules, it's about relationship. We have gone our own way. Going our own way is not simply about defying rules, but about defying our relationship. It's a way of declaring our independence of God. It should strike us also how common it is, especially among the clergy, to think, how many people are part of my church? Jesus is focused on another question. How many people are not? How many people are lost and have not yet come back home? Thank you for being part of these daily reflections. And if you ever feel lost, come back home to the Catholic Church. I'd like to make myself available to you in some way or the other. And so if you would like to get in touch with me, here is my number, which you can do so by sending me a WhatsApp message. If you're dialing from abroad or texting from abroad, the number is, you need to add a +91, that's +91, that's the India code. And then you can add the cell phone number 98202 42151. That's 98202 42151. Remember my little request, please don't call, please WhatsApp me and I will get back to you. Have a blessed day, everybody.